Today we're going to do a quick tutorial on EHall Pass. So make sure you go to this website, pass.securely.com/login. You might want to favorite it and add it to your bookmarks. We're going to log in with Google. Make sure you select your school district email address, and it's going to flow through a couple pages. Click continue. You might see that login screen pop up just for a second before it will eventually load the dashboard. When we get to the dashboard, what you want to do is make sure, obviously, that it is you are logged in as you. And if you are a teacher who moves between buildings, make sure that you are set to the correct location. You can go into settings and you can update your picture, which might be very helpful to other teachers when they're looking at passes. So this is where you can do that. Back to the dashboard, and we're going to look at a couple little areas here. First, we have My Passes. This is going to be anywhere that you have a student out, like in your own classroom, like to the bathroom or something. All Passes is the whole building. So you can see every single kid who might possibly be on a pass. And then Appointments is when you have a kid coming later, like maybe you ask them to come to your room later in the day. And so that's a scheduled pass for later. All right, now we're going to move into the more practical side, how to issue passes, approve them, end them. And we're just going to talk about the basic situation. You're in class and a student asks to go to the bathroom or gets called to the office. The student can use the kiosk. So if they go up to the tablet or pad that you have in class and they fill out the information, you're going to see a pass come up in this My Pass area. It's going to say their name, where they're going, and then you say approve, right? So that's if the student on their phone or at the kiosk actually creates the pass for themselves. Now, sometimes that isn't easy for the student, or the student can't, the kiosk isn't working, or they don't have the app on their phone, and they're going to ask you to make the pass. So I will go to Teacher Pass and I will actually type in their name. Now, it just so happens I have my own student attend, so I'm going to use my daughter Abby's name. So let's say I have Abby in class and she asks to go to the bathroom, or she needs to go to another teacher's room to get her Chromebook charger. Maybe she has to go to the nurse, or the office has called her, whatever. I can select one of those pre-identified areas, or I can type in the location. So for example, for me, my bathroom is called Bathroom Women's English. So I'm going to type that in. I could also type in a teacher's name if I was sending there to a specific teacher's list, and the teacher's name would come up. You can see here now when I approve the pass, it automatically starts. I can send them. And I just have this little area here where it's waiting for them to come back. If a student had created this pass themselves on the kiosk, I would need to click approve, and then they could go. The timer's going to start ticking, and you're going to see minutes pass by. And if a kid is out in the hallway for longer than 6 minutes, it's going to show you that so that you can be like, oh, wait a minute, where'd that kid go? But when the student comes back, this is a habit I would suggest, whether the student made the pass themselves or you made it. I would start the process of saying to the kids, when you return, remind me to end your pass, because we don't want to track a kid's being out on a pass for 24 minutes when really they've been back in class for 20. So make sure you end that pass, and it will clear them out of the system. You can see you won't have any active passes at that time. Now we're going to look at another really normal practical situation that happens in the classroom. Now I have set this up myself as if I am both teacher number 1 and teacher number 2. Okay, so let's say a student asks teacher number 1 to go to teacher number 2's class. Oh, I forgot my iPhone. I forgot my charger, my water bottle, whatever. Or I'm going to the nurse. Teacher number 1 writes the pass for the student to go to that location and then return back to them. So it's a very practical situation. Okay. So these buttons are for when the student has left and they get to teacher number 2, whether that be a classroom teacher or the nurse. Often if it's the nurse and the kid's going to be there for a while, they'll mark them arrived. So then we'll see on our end that the kid has arrived at the nurse and they're kind of hanging out there. Okay. But in the situation where a kid is just running to a teacher's classroom to go pick something up and then come back, what we would generally do if we're on top of everything is not mark them arrived, but actually mark them just in and out. Like they're here, they got what they needed, and they're leaving, and there's no like dilly-dallying. Okay. So when we click in and out, what we will see then is the time they left teacher number 1, the time they got to, did their business, and left teacher number 2. Okay, so this is why accountability is so great, especially for those students who we know will often wander the halls. If we are accountable to each other as teachers and we are holding the students accountable, then we can really monitor them. Once that student returns, then the teacher can mark them as ended. Like, okay, you're back in my classroom where you belong. It is ended. The next thing we're going to talk about is when we want to schedule a student for something in the future, something later. So maybe I have a situation where I have a student, they didn't finish their test, they want to come back to me like later during their study hall, and I will go in and I will create a pass for a later time. And I need to know, their study hall teacher needs to know that I give them permission to leave study hall to come to me, say like 9th period. There is also situations where you are making a request that a student go to somebody else. Like, hey, tomorrow, can I send so-and-so to you because you're their case manager and they need extra help on like a project or something like that. So in that instance, I would click appointments and then create the appointment. So I'm going to use my student Abby again as my example. Once you type in your student's name, you will want to type in a reason. That way people know why the kid is moving about the building, and everyone will be sort of on the same page. Here's the important part, whether you do it from or to you, right? So if they're in someone else's room and they're coming to you, or if they're in your room and you are sending them to someone else, you want to make sure that you do not just leave it saying system. You are going to have to type in that teacher's name and select that teacher, or it will not show up on their EHall Pass system. Okay? Same thing for the time and the period. You want to make sure that you fill all of that in. All right, so time's pretty easy. If you click on the button, it will bring up like a clock, and you can click on the hour or the minutes to make it a little easier. You could also just type it in, and that's fine too. One thing I want to make sure that you realize is that putting in the time, though I don't think you have to, it does certainly help. Please make sure that you make sure that that is clicked to the correct PM or AM. That is really, really important. And do mark the period. This just keeps everything well documented. Okay. So if 140 was, say, for example, I guess that would be like 8th or 9th period, right? And you just pick the period that it was. If you want this to be a pass that happens for like a couple of days in a row, you can set it up to repeat. You can have it repeat as long or as little as you like, or you can just set it to no repetition. Again, don't forget to make sure you put something in for the reason, and then you can go ahead and create that pass. It will then show up on everybody's dashboard that is attached to that pass, you, the other teacher, and the student. Okay. So, and everyone will see it under like teacher appointments. Now, whether you are the receiving or the sending teacher, it's possible that the student may need to acknowledge that they have the pass. The other teacher may need to acknowledge and or approve the pass. So again, if you're not seeing that that has been acknowledged, you might want to shoot a quick message out to the other people, either the student or the other teacher, and make sure like, hey, make sure that people know this pass exists and that it does get followed through with. Again, this is really great for documentation for those wandering students. This really keeps everything in order. All right. So at this point, then it will just come down to like whenever that time is, the teacher would go in, whoever has the student would go in and would be able to do that. It would then show up in like my passes, like for the whole building. Okay. And that is pretty much it. That is like the big system, the major things that we would need to do. And if you have any questions, you can ask them at this time.